Salutations, everyone. Before we fire up this podcast, we wanted to cover some of the issues and questions regarding letting Noah go from the podcast and just really give a more further explanation on why we made this decision, starting off with saying that we made the decision, Lone and I together, to let Noah go. This wasn't him leaving on his own. We want to make sure that people are aware of that this wasn't Noah saying, all right, guys, goodbye. I can't do this anymore. It was our decision. Because a lot of people were like, oh, Noah, sorry to see you go, but I respect your decision. It was our decision.
And I know that people got that implication because it was probably, like, we weren't direct enough with it in the last podcast, but it was our decision that we made, and Noah didn't want to go, obviously. But we thought, we can give some reasons now, but our decision was made because we thought that this was for the good of the podcast and for the better. And I guess you can start with some of the reasons now, Matty, as well.
Yeah, the first one was just that it wasn't feasible going forward. Noah is very dedicated to his girlfriend who goes away to college, and she comes home every Friday, and that happens to be the day we record. Now, that was the day we picked a while ago before all this. And it's not that we couldn't work around Noah's schedule. It's just that Friday's my work day. I do things. Lone, it works out for him that since he's in Australia, that happens to land on a Saturday morning for him. So he's free, and you have a full work week. And Noah is the only one who sometimes his girlfriend wouldn't be home, and he'd come on the podcast. But a lot of the times, as you guys have noticed, he would be out doing things. And we understood, but it just, for the sake of the future of the podcast, it didn't make sense to just keep having this third host who couldn't show up.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It was nothing down to him being a bad host when he was on. I mean, I've consistently, and Matty's consistently said that podcasts are 10 times better when he's on. And I even told Noah that the comedic value that he brings is immeasurable. It was more that trying to say that podcasts are much better when there are three people on because there's more discussion, there's more back and forth. They just have a higher value as opposed to when there are just two people talking to each other.
Yeah.
So
you can
we
tell
thought
by the
that
length of this podcast alone, the difference it's already made. That one recorded up to I think 2 hours almost. So you can see an instant difference when we have three people who we know are going to be mainstay hosts and all have differing opinions. It leads to a much deeper discussion, which you guys look for here on the show.
And again, like, not having that third host does lead to the shorter episodes, which people and fans, we've seen comments about this, were saying, well, why the podcasts sometimes podcasts were only 50, 55 minutes when it's just Matty and I talking, for example. So, we thought that we needed a third dedicated host. And because it wasn't possible with Noah for all of those circumstances, that we needed someone else, to be on the podcast moving forward. And it's a tough decision. And I know that people are kind of negative about us saying, well, we feel like shit, you're just saying that to cover your ass. But genuinely, we do. We put this off from half a year to up to a year, I think was the time, right, Matty?
It was like I said, the real talk started in like July. And we were like, how long can we keep this up for? So it's not something we made a decision on out of the blue. But also, one thing I wanted to clarify is Noah's really happy to go to E3. I mean, I went to high school with him and everything. It was like his dream growing up, and he finally got to do that with me, which is something we never thought would happen. And, he was really crushed about the podcast because I think he thought he lost that. And I texted him, and him and I are on good terms. We're still best friends. Nothing's really awkward, which is very good. But I clarified with him that, like, we're still going to try to get him to E3. I can almost guarantee it because getting an E3 pass is, if you are in the industry, it is ridiculously easy. PAX is very difficult to get into, but E3 is very easy. I'm telling you, like, I submitted an application and I got an exception instantly, and so did all my friends, while PAX was a much longer wait. Point being, though, is that we wanted to make sure that with removing Noah from the show, that he didn't lose the privileges that he earned from being such a great host, such as coming to E3 with me, as well as talking to you guys, and he's looking at building his own vlog channel. So we wanted to make sure that we didn't just literally rip everything away from him, and that he's still, because he built this show with us, so we wanted to make sure that he's still well taken care of despite him not being on the show anymore. And that's important.
And for people that ask that, are you still going to get Noah on as a guest? Of course, we're going to get Noah on as a guest every now and again. Mm-hmm. We have absolutely no intentions to say you're completely cut off from the cast. It's just that when the question is asked about whether he should have been, a fully dedicated host, it became increasingly difficult to justify that. So, Again, we made the decision. This wasn't Noah's decision, but we also as well, and we asked Noah's permission for this, and he said he was absolutely happy to do this. We want to include now the footage of Noah explaining his side of the story, and we think that's absolutely crucial. And because, he helped build up this podcast and he was with us for so long, we wanted to show this footage of his to ensure that you guys will hear it, because I know that, we retweeted it out and it's on his channel, but we wanted to release this footage to the wider podcast community so you all know what Noah has said as well.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important to hear his side.
Absolutely. So if you don't, for some reason, we highly encourage you do. But if you don't want to sit through this, we will have timestamps, like always, in the description down below for you guys to sit down and click through if for some reason you don't want to. But if you're, a frequent listener, I highly recommend you listen to this. If you're just tuning in, you want to get a perspective on who Noah was, you can see how much he cared about the show through that video as well. I think it's very important that anyone who's listened to the show does check it out. But if for some reason you do want to skip it, we do give you that option in the timestamps down below.
Yeah, and feel free to ask us more questions. Like, we probably haven't covered everything we should have, even in this extra additional recording. So I'll be trolling through the comments and responding to people's questions about this. But we do encourage as you watch it, even though the timestamps are down below. We highly encourage, and we really want people to watch Noah's side of this. So we'll play that now. Is anything else you want to say, Matty?
Nope, that'll be it.
Alrighty, guys. See you in the podcast.
All right, what's up, guys? Noah here, and today I got a funky video. It is addressing the fact that I'm no longer on the H.A.M Radio Podcast. So I really hesitated. Those of you who follow me on Twitter saw that I really hesitated with this video because I don't want to say the wrong thing and offend the wrong people. But I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna tell the story the way it happened, and it's gonna I'm gonna tell both sides of it, so there's no misunderstanding or anything like that. I'll tell my side first. Basically, what happened was the other night I was out and I got a text message from Matt that basically said that there was it was no longer feasible for me to be on the podcast because of how many episodes I've missed and how many how just some of the priorities in my own life and how busy I am recently. And he said that him and Lone had talked it over and they just thought it would be a better idea for me to be removed from the podcast for those reasons. And this was something that really kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. I wasn't expecting it at all, and I was really upset by it initially. It's why I didn't make a video for a little while, because I didn't want to come on the video and just throw all these feelings that I had at everyone and be like, oh fuck these guys, they're fucking I didn't want to do that. And I took to Twitter and I did plead with Matt for a while. I said, look, man, I think after next Friday or whatever, the date is January 9th right now. But I said after this upcoming Friday, dude, I'll be able to be on. I can make time for it. I was like, you're right. I have been really absent and stuff. And he's like, look, dude, he's like, we're not mad. He's, we're just, we just think it would be better for everyone. It's like that way you don't have to worry about it. That way we don't have to worry about it. And again, I was really, really taken back. At the time I was with my girlfriend and my mood kind of went boom, and hit the ground real hard. And I was super upset by this. I'll be honest with you. I was really upset. To be honest, I got really sad. And I didn't sleep well. It's really weird to say, but I didn't sleep well that night. The next day at work was fucking horrible. I was mad the whole time. I was just, I had a lot of anger built up in me. And one of the reasons I did was because I felt like, I've met a lot of really cool people doing the podcast. and I've met a lot of really awesome people doing E3. You know, and that and being able to see my friends during E3 and being able to stay in contact with my friends, because for those of you who don't know, I used to live in New York, which is where Matt is located. I'm not going to say where, don't worry, Matt. But it's where he's located, and we would hang out a lot. We'd play a lot of video games, and it would be a lot of fun. And when I moved to Arizona, which is where I am now, I don't get to do that. And I also don't have a lot of friends here. I've always had trouble making friends. We're gonna get real talk right now. I've always had trouble making friends and keeping them, and I felt like when they told me that they wanted to remove me from the podcast, it felt like two of really good friends of mine, Lone and Matt, were kind of like stabbing me in the back, because I was one of the people who created the podcast and came up with the ideas with it. And I remember sitting down with Matt and talking about how we're going to do this and when we're going to do it. And again, I want to say right now, there's no ill will between either of them, and I'm going to get to that towards the end of the video, but I'm just telling the story from my perspective right now, and then I'll tell it from theirs. But yeah, there was a lot of anger, and again, I didn't have where was I was saying that I didn't have a lot of friends here, and that was my way of connecting with friends, was through the podcast. Even though I wasn't on it a lot, it still was my way of doing it. And E3 especially was fantastic and amazing. I met a lot of cool people there. You know, Cam, I'm forgetting other people's names, and I'm so sorry. But you know who you are, and I truly am sorry for forgetting names. It's just because I have a horrible memory with names and birthdays. But, and I was afraid that I wasn't going to get to do that again, because that was one of the best experiences I've ever had, was going to LA and doing E3. And when they told me to not, to remove me from the podcast, that kind of was like pulling the rug out from under me with that opportunity, with all of that stuff. And, to me, this podcast was a lot more than just coming on and talking for an hour and a half. And I think I did a really bad job of showing that it meant that much to me, because I did miss so much. And I believe I took it for granted, and that was my own fault. And I 100% take blame for that aspect of it. There again, a lot of the anger came from the fact that I never expected to be taken off the podcast. A lot of the perspective from my end was like, well, you guys could have found guests when I wasn't there, and there were a few other things said that I don't want to say on camera, because I don't want the kind of the inner workings of podcast stuff. But it felt like a lot of stuff was being blamed on me that wasn't. And I think what was happening was I was interpreting certain things that were being said and making it feel like they were blaming them on me, and maybe that wasn't the case. And that was my own, again, that was something that I was like overlooking and taking the wrong way. I've been trying to stay off Twitter in terms of tweeting about it, because I a lot of people are asking, are you and Lone and Matt still on good terms and stuff, when I first put the tweet out that I was no longer on the cast. And I didn't really answer, because quite honestly, I didn't really know. Matt had told me, he's like, dude, I don't want this to affect our friendship. And again, it was one of those things where it was like, how can it not? And I'm afraid, like, this is one of my fears, that it's always going to be that elephant in the room with Matt. And I don't want that. And I'm telling you right now, dude, and this is to Matt, I really don't want this to be something that fucks up our friendship. And I don't think you do either. I've known Matt for years. I've known him since 8th grade, and I'm sure you've heard on the podcast the story of how in 6th grade I knew him, but I fucking hated the kid. I was really afraid that this was something that was gonna really mess with us. Like, and it was, my head kept saying, like, Noah, if you just say okay and don't worry about it, it won't. But at the same token, I was afraid that, like, Matt was like maybe gonna avoid me and stuff. And it's, when you have that kind of friendship, you don't want to lose it, and it's as you get older, those of you who are maybe in high school and have a lot of friends around, unfortunately you lose a lot of friends after high school ends, and there's just no way of working around it. And it's just because people go, to one college, you go to another. And when I moved, I promised myself that I would not let certain friends go, you know, and there's still some that in New York that I try and keep in touch with. You know, Connor's one of them. Even though I give Connor a lot of shit, you know, seeing him at E3 and stuff, and seeing Matt and some of the other people we saw, it was really cool, and it was really nice. And when I turned around to go and leave after saying goodbye to everyone, you know, I gave Matt a hug, I gave Connor a hug, I gave, you know, a couple other people, you know, and it was like I turned around and like I just broke down because it was like those are the best friends that I have to me, you know, and I think by being told that they wanted me removed from the podcast, and I'm saying this, I don't when I say removed from the podcast, I'm not saying like they kicked me off, like it's just there's no other words that I can really use, but when they wanted me removed from the podcast, it kind of felt like that those friendships were being just taken away, and that really scared me and really hit me hard, and you know, I've given it a couple days, and and well, let me explain their perspective. From their perspective, it has happened a couple times where Matt said to me like, "Are you gonna be on this week?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry, dude, I gotta work or something." And he'll jokingly be like, "Damn it, dude, what the fuck?" You know, I know he's joking. I know he is. You know, but you know, and it's like I felt bad for that, but I had to work, or it was like my girlfriend would be down for the weekend from where she goes to school. She goes to school a couple hours away from me, so she'd be down for the weekend, and I'd want to see her. So it's like I wouldn't be on that weekend, and you know, and it was just basically leading up to Matt and Lone could see that my priorities were in a different place, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I have, you know, I have a job, and oh, there we go. Sorry, my computer went blank for a second. I have a job, and I have a, you know, a girlfriend and stuff, and I'm not trying to sound like a cool kid. It's just there are things going on in my life, and I'm not the best at organizing certain things, so you know, the podcast was just it unfortunately became a secondhand thing, and it was just like I you know, because of the scheduling we record on Fridays, and Friday's a big day, you know, and that's you know, we can't record on during the other days of the week, i.e. Monday through Thursday, because Lone has a job, a full-time job, in which I'm not going to say what he does. I don't know if he's even said what he does, but he has a full-time job, and he you know, for him, because he's in Australia, he's basically a day ahead of us, so our Friday is his Saturday, so it's easy for him to record. You know, it's a Saturday, he has a day off. For Matt, it's easy for him to record because it's later in the day, but for me, due to my time, it would be in the middle of the afternoon. And that would make recording really difficult, because I would either just be getting off work or just be meeting up with my girlfriend and stuff. And it's like, it made it really difficult to kind of make the podcast a major priority, even though I wanted it to be. There were just things in my life that I wanted more, and there still is. And upon thinking more and more about it, it probably is a better idea that maybe I stay off the podcast as a major host. Hopefully they'll have me back as a guest. I'm sure they will. I haven't confirmed or denied that with either of them, but I'm sure they will. You know, and hopefully I'll find a way to get to E3. I have a couple of things that I have you know, in my head to work out with to be able to get into E3. You know, but I just want to say that there's no ill will. Matt and I talked this over a lot, and basically he texted me the other night and he was like, "Look, dude, you know, you're one of my best friends, and I don't want this to change that, you know." And he's like, "This is difficult for all of us to do, you know." And he said that, and honestly, it made me feel a lot better, because he texted me out of nowhere, and that was the day where I had just spent the whole day just mad, and he had said that, and I was like, you know, I texted back and I was like, "I appreciate it, man, I really do," and I said, "I'm just really angry right now," and I said, we'll talk to you when I'm ready to talk about it, and I put in quotations that I sounded like a crazy ex-girlfriend, because I kind of did, But it's just what it was, and he understood that. And today is 2 days later. I texted him and talked about Forza Horizon 3, and we just talked about that, and that was kind of my way of reopening the fact that I'm okay with what's happening, and I understand it, even though I didn't say it, and there's a lot of things that Matt and I will, when we talk, we'll joke around about, and it'll be like sore stuff, we'll bring it up, and Matt, I just want to let you know that this isn't one of those things I'll bring up, it's happened and it's done with, and I'm not gonna put you in an awkward position to explain yourself or anything like that. And Lone, you're still a really good friend of mine, and you're always fun to talk to. You always have an interesting international approach on certain things, and I wish both of them the best of luck with the podcast. I really do, and I know it's gonna do great things. And when I was on it, I loved it. And I love the community. You guys have been awesome. You guys have been giving really, really good support about everything. I even talked about maybe doing a vlog channel on my own time, which still working out some of the kinks for. Mainly it's editing the video. That's I know how to edit. I just don't have editing software on my computer. So that's been the main issue that I've been trying to work out. But I want to thank you guys for hopefully understanding. If you have any questions, you can tweet me. My Twitter, I believe, is in the description below. Yeah, that's about it. I wasn't gonna make this video, but I was kind of convinced to, and so here it is. But guys, thank you for watching, and again, thank you for all the support, and please support the podcast. Don't say to them like, oh, what the fuck, how dare you, don't do any of that shit. Just support them. If they get a new host, be nice to them, and when I'm on as a guest, I'll test them out if they're the true next host of the H.A.M Radio Podcast. But other than that, guys, thank you for watching, and thank you for understanding. All right, guys, peace out.
Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today with week 91 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
And it has been the LoneVaultWanderer who slept in, and I have to apologize again.
All good. And we officially got the third podcast host. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, this is Karak with ACG, who had to wait for Lone Wanderer.
You're calling me out, man.
I was totally ready. I'm just joking. It's fine.
Yeah, we felt that Karak was the ideal replacement. He was our best received guest each and every single time he was on. You guys really enjoy him. A lot of you were like praying that he was going to be the replacement. You're like, all right, man, if you're getting rid of Noah, you got to put someone really good in, and it better be Karak. So it was an obvious choice for us, and we're really happy to have him on the show. So he'll be here each and every week to talk about whatever the hell happens in this industry. So welcome aboard. Be sure to give him a follow on Twitter. Give him all the love that you guys give us. I mean, seriously, this is really awesome. So we're really excited to take this big step forward.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
Follow him on Twitter. I swear to God.
Are you not following him?
No, I am.
Oh,
I bet you a lot of people
you followed
aren't.
Me. Yeah, like I'm sitting there in bed waiting for you, Lone, and all of a sudden it just says that Karak followed me back on Twitter. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I think you accidentally unfollowed me and then followed me again. Yeah, I was like, what in the hell? What does he mean he followed me back? I've been following him for months.
It was actually a joke towards I do that occasionally to see if anybody watches, and sometimes you'll get that comment where somebody will be like, "Hey, dude, I thought you were following me," and I'll be like, "Yeah, I was just playing with you to see if you actually watch that stuff." Because sometimes, and I forget to tell people to follow me. So like, you guys have these huge Twitter following. You guys have a large number, and I've got like I don't know how many, like 25 people who are all this Karak guy's pretty okay.
I'm pretty sure you'll get a decent spike from this show because now you'll be a main host and a lot of people just interact on our show through Twitter. But one other change we're making to the show, well, not change really. One way we are trying to alter the show so it's more organized, because I think that was one of our bigger problems last year, is that we like to bring on viewer guests. I think that's what makes our show really special, is that you don't see a lot of podcasts constantly bringing on viewers as often as possible like ours does. And the way we did it wasn't really an ideal solution going, or an ideal method going forward. Yeah, because what we do, really, it would be almost a lack of thought. Like, yo, we don't have guests. someone's not here. It would be one of us hosts, and we'd just grab a couple of viewers. It didn't feel genuine. It just didn't feel like how it should be, especially because, like I said, we were just ideally just yanking people off of social media and putting them on the show, not really knowing much about them, not knowing if they even gave a fuck, if they were looking for their 15 minutes of fame, and that was it. You know, it just didn't feel thorough. So what we've done is, at this point in time now, I can fucking finally talk about it. My Patreon is live, and what we've changed up in agreement, this wasn't really, I'm not putting this on the rest of the show, but I'm just saying that this wasn't a decision I made alone. I made sure it was okay with everyone else, that through the $3 tier is how we're going to pick guests, because what we're having is a lot of people just like emailing me or tweeting at Lone and I why they should be on the podcast and stuff, and that's just not a method that we like to go through, because it feels like, I've said, it's just disingenuous. And I also got this idea through Karak's Patreon, which I've studied so many patrons over the past year and a half, and I really wanted to make sure I got like a good sound method on how to get people involved in the podcast, people who really cared about the show, about what we do here. And I think the Patreon was the best way to go forth with that, is to, if someone was actually invested in the show and invest in the Patreon, they would most certainly get their chance on, because the goal is not to just limit like, oh, only 2 guests a month. No, we're trying to get on as many viewers as possible each month to make sure that, that tier is worth what you're paying. And on top of that is a Discord thing. So you're getting that constant reward, that constant interaction on the outside, even if you're not getting included on the show. I put a lot of thought into it, but I wanted to make sure I explain that for those who are curious about both the Patreon as well as wanting to get on the show. That's how we're doing things going forward. Not to essentially, oh, you got to pay to get on, but this is just a way to really filter out a lot of the bullshit, if I'm honest, because that's what we got. Let's be real. I think you can attest to that. Yeah, I think that's what happened a lot is, hey, Matt, you should just put me on your show. It's like, well, first off, it's not just my show, but second of all, like, that's just not how it's going to work. It's just a method that didn't make sense going forward. So we hope this is more organized, and you'll see a lot more viewer guests coming on and special guests in the future. So I just wanted to make that clear. Now, with all that out of the way, let's talk about the Nintendo Switch reveal. This is very curious. What we did, ladies and gentlemen, is when we hopped on, I said, I'm dying to talk about this, but no one say anything. No one gave a single inkling of what you're thinking. I was like, please don't. I need to hear it live on the show. I just knocked something over. So who would like to go first on just their overall impressions? Lone, you seem like you're biting your tongue, so I'm leaning towards you, man.
It's just so polarizing because, all right, the presentation, I thought was a bit of a letdown. I was looking for a little bit more in terms of just I don't know. I understand that it was a different language and it just felt a bit weird. Like the voiceovers didn't really do a good job. Like those live
the guy laughing and then somebody kicked another translator off. That was awesome.
He fucking laughed. I was like, oh my God.
No, do you know what it was? The guy that like jumped in as a grasshopper or something. I think the translator just got thrown off. He's like, oh fuck. I'm really 50-50. Mind you, I have pre-ordered it. That's just because it'll be a tax deduction. But I just don't know. I don't know if there's a solid enough solid supply of games on launch, because yes, we've got Legend of Zelda. That's great, but there's nothing really else, is there? There's like up to 10 games. I
screenshotted a photo for this exact conversation. Where exactly is it? Did I delete it by accident? I might.
I think you sent it. It's Colin Moriarty. I'm pretty sure he tweeted it out.
Someone tweeted. Nintendo America did tweet out the launch titles. Allow me to. You keep talking. I'll grab it for you.
No, it's so Colin Moriarty. I got it here. He tweeted out. These are the confirmed games, I believe. 1-2 Switch, Has Been Heroes, Snipper Clips, Super Bomberman R, and The Legend of Zelda, because he's got those in bold.
Yeah, those are launch titles. Yeah,
like launch titles, and that could be wrong. Fine, but even then, there seems to be upwards of 10 launch titles, and I don't know if that's enough to justify the purchase, because we can get onto the price later. This shit is expensive in Australia, man.
Yeah, I was looking at your receipt that you were sharing. Here's the picture. Take a look at Nintendo of America tweets. Take a look at the sampling of titles for Nintendo Switch from Nintendo and our third-party partners coming this year, with more on the way. On launch day is Zelda Breath of the Wild, 1-2 Switch, Skylanders, Imaginators, Just Dance 2017, and Super Bomberman.
Yeah, there it is. So what? Nothing. Like, really nothing.
Like, and mind you, this is coming from Lone, who is a huge Zelda fan.
And I was so excited. Like, genuinely, Matty, you know, and Karak, you know how excited I was for this console. But, like, it's hard to justify. And let me tell you, it's $470 in Australia, plus the $90 that Legend of Zelda is, and then want to get the Pro Controller as well. The pre-order for me was $660.
Yeah.
Who's going to be able to spend that money?
And that's the thing, is in the rest of March, they're saying snipper clips, cut it out together.
Fuck is
Fast RMX, I Am Setsuna, which is apparently a very good JRPG, but still, that's a port. And Has Been Heroes. I've never heard of that, so I'm not going to judge it off the bat. But that's all of March. April, you just have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Spring of 2017
which is okay.
In general, yeah, that's fine. But I'm pretty sure Mario Kart already came out on the Wii U.
I've babbled on, but all I'm going to say, it better have a damn good virtual console.
Yeah, Spring 2017, we'll get into that in a sec too. Spring 2017 is ARMS. That actually looks interesting. I know a lot of people are hating on that game, but I thought
it looked like
fun. That looks, because I hang out with my friends a lot. We always game together, and ARMS looks like a really fun time. Puyo Puyo Tetris, fucking no. Rhyme, Disgaea 5. Disgaea 5 is a very good game. Splatoon 2 in the summer of 2017. They should have just fucking ported the first one over, as far as I'm concerned. Because no one knows what the first one was. Because no one had the Wii U. Fall of 2017, you got Skyrim. Holiday 2017 is Super Mario Odyssey. And
such a long way.
2017 in general, they're saying Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Ultra Street Fighter 2, The Final Challengers, Minecraft, FIFA, Sonic Mania, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, Steep, and NBA 2K18.
Karak, what do you think?
So are you passing the baton to me to for what I thought of the entire thing, or just that game list?
I don't know. I'm just going to be negative.
So, I rated it this morning when I was talking about my podcast as, like a 5 out of 10. If I was talking about the system, not the presentation. The presentation, the problem with the presentation, and I'm sure most people understand this, but if you look at how somebody communicates, you can usually identify different other aspects of whatever their organization is. And one of the problems with Nintendo is they show a complete and utter lack of really understanding where they are in the industry. And their presentation was a presentation that it not only was just dry, but it also spoke to a lot of the mistakes we saw during the presentation and a lot of the weird things we saw in the Switch itself and in the games. For example, it's very telling that Ubisoft, one of the major third party, only has Steep and I think one other game. But here's the scary thing. A couple weeks ago, they did a poll, and less than 4% of devs were making Switch games. 3% of devs are making 360 games. There is a 1% difference right now. That's insane.
Wow.
So as I said, or I was talking earlier, and I was saying, if you double that and say 8%, there's actually some off the cuff math you can do, and you can figure out what the general number of games that will be coming out within 1 year are. If you do that general math and you assume a 2.5 to 3.5 year development process, you are talking about less than 32 games. Additionally, all of their stuff with "we'll talk to you later," "we'll show you later," fall possibly, or these weird soft worded explanations for timings are making me nervous that even the games they showed, it felt like the Switch needed 1 more year. It felt like we were a year early for the entire presentation, and that was mimicked in battery life. That was mimicked in as somebody who's worked in the tech industry for 13 years. The moment they mentioned battery life, I can tell you that the IRC I was on exploded, because there you can actually tell the power something has as well due to its battery life. And when they mentioned it, people were just like, oh shit, this is not what we thought. I mean, even some of the people who thought it was not going to be super powerful were sort of surprised by the battery life and a couple other things that have popped up. It was just a bad presentation. And honestly, I went from being incredibly excited to looking at half of these games with FPS issues that you could blatantly see. These are issues that aren't repeated in other conferences. So I know a lot of people say, "Oh, it's recorded."
There there were a lot of hitching issues in that Breath of the Wild trailer as well.
Yeah, and I'm okay with, them showing alpha stuff and having those FPS issues. But one thing people need to understand is FPS is almost always or usually tied to the CPU, not the GPU. And so the CPU FPS issue scares me a little bit because we already know that the CPU is going to be fairly underpowered in the Switch anyway. So I'm just really nervous, to be honest. I wanted Nintendo to come out and go, boom, Sony and Microsoft, we're doing something slightly different. So we're going to... Yeah. I wanted Microsoft, first of all, to wake up this morning and go, oh, fuck. That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
I don't have issues with them as a company, but I would love to see them go, oh, crap, because they're not doing that right now. Sony did not wake up and go, oh, crap. And that is... I was absolutely hoping for that.
Interesting.
And, yeah, so... my thoughts, it was very depressing, in all honesty. I mean, just almost across the board.
And to clarify, the battery life, for those of you that don't know, it is confirmed to be, it's a big range from 2.5 hours to 6 hours. And Breath of the Wild, if you're playing that consistently, is 3 hours. But they did mention something about removable batteries too. So it seems like you can buy extra ones and replace them. I don't know.
But you can. There's a company also that's already releasing peripherals with extra battery bumps.
There you go.
So,
but no,
that's the thing. This thing's already become.
It's piecemeal. There's so many different parts.
I was gonna say the fact that the launch bundle doesn't come with a Pro controller, in my opinion, is a joke, and that they're selling it separately, not for $60, where most controllers retail at, but $70. They're showing clearly that they're. I know it sounds stupid to say because they're selling a fucking console, but they're clearly showing they're trying to make money, but they're also showing desperation in those acts, like price hiking a controller on a system that no one's convinced on buying. Yeah, the presentation was awkward, okay? It was awkward. And I'm saying that as someone who doesn't get uncomfortable watching the Japanese type of culture because I really appreciate that stuff a lot. And I really am interested in it. But even I, watching that presentation, like when the fucking dude came out for Splatoon or let's switch to this individual, I was just like...
They freebased David Blaine videos prior to there because what was the magician shit going on half the time?
It was just the guy with the Splatoon guns.
Who gave the thumbs up on this fucking presentation and said that's trendy, that's modern, that's fucking casual? Like, you didn't know who they were appealing to because everyone in the audience, bunch of suits, okay? But they're like, let's switch, like, for a bunch of kids. I don't know who they were trying to appeal to. The console itself, I gotta say, as someone who plays a Vita a lot, a 2.5 to 6 hour battery life. I don't know what game. If Zelda Breath of the Wild lasts you 3 hours, I can't say that's absolutely awful because that's usually the Vita lasts me 4 to 5. So 1 hour less than that doesn't really destroy me. But I know not everyone plays handhelds as consistently as I do. So I do know that hearing that is pretty demoralizing. But I think of it this way, that if I'm going to take a console game on the go, I can't think of many places I'd need it to be wireless for 3 hours until I need it, and I wouldn't be near a charger for that time. You know, like Lone, you talked about how you'd be using it on a commute. And I think that 3 hours would suffice you if you were, and this is, mind you, just Zelda.
Yeah. No, 3 hours, like, I'm not too disappointed with the battery life because even if you consider, like, my phone, for example, if I was playing a game consistently for 3 to 4 hours, my phone battery life would go to shit as well. So I'm not too worried about it only being 3 up to 6 hours, right? Especially because it's USB-C, so you can take an external charger with you and charge it that way. That's not really my concern, to be honest. So... it's more, you know, I've been into it, but anyways.
My biggest concern lies with the games. That was the biggest point they had to. That was the biggest point they had to hammer home, in my opinion. They had to say, we have games, because guess what? That's what the fucking Wii U didn't have. I don't care if it's a bad idea or not. The Wii U probably would have done a little bit better if they said we have games, not just exclusives, which Nintendo pushed again. They pushed the Super Mario Odyssey, which I'm gonna say this right now, looks fucking awesome. That's why I pre-ordered it.
It looks amazing.
I fucking thought Super Mario Odyssey looked incredible, and I'm not even like a big Mario fan. Like, you know, I grew up playing obviously Mario, but you know, it's not like I remember the days on the NES, yada yada yada. No, I played mostly on the Game Boy Advance, and I haven't played Mario in dumb long. So for me to really get hyped about a Mario game is pretty rare, to say the least.
Yeah.
That, and I'm not a Zelda fan either, and Breath of the Wild looked fucking incredible. So once I saw that was a launch title, I was like, okay, like I see a game in the future I'm gonna want to play. I see Skyrim, I like ARMS. I see Breath of the Wild. I think I'm gonna just give this a shot then. Also, it's my line of work, so I knew kind of going into this that unless it was a fucking train wreck, I was gonna pre-order it. But if I'm a general consumer, someone who like doesn't need this, oh my god, I would not touch it with a fucking 10-foot pole. Oh
but see,
my god.
This is the thing though, right, guys? I thought that this console was going to come out the gate a little bit stronger in terms of its price point, in terms of the number of games available, etc.
Undercut.
But it seems it's going to be a much slower burn, and it's the only thing that really needs to back that up is a committed Nintendo and committed third-party support. And I was hoping for something stronger, initially, but this is going to be a 2 or 3 year route for Nintendo, and I just don't know whether general consumers are going to wait that long. I don't.
Yeah, exactly. Nintendo, like Karak said, probably pulled the trigger a little too early. They're clearly not ready. Some of the games they showed off aren't even in full development. Who was it? I think Suda 51, game's not even in development. I think...
Dude, Sega showed up and basically said, hey, thanks, Nintendo, for telling us you're making a system, and then walked off the stage.
Exactly. Fire Emblem Heroes, which or Warriors, I'm sorry. I love Fire Emblem, and I like the Warriors games, definitely a guilty pleasure of mine. But, even then, that's a game that's clearly not in development. They didn't show shit. A new Shin Megami Tensei, as a fan of the Persona series, that was exciting, but that's clearly just starting development. It's like, how long did Nintendo wait to tell people about the system? And once again, these are all going to be first-party games. The third-party support, you came out and showed FIFA and Skyrim. Woo!
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you know what was really telling? Also, there's a disconnect between, and I've said this before, what their fans expect, and IPs, those kind of things, and what they continue to deliver. But there was a tone deaf moment that was actually really telling when we were watching it, which was where they were talking about unique experiences, and then they announced FIFA, and I was like, holy shit. Why don't you just say unique and then announce NFL in the US? There's this point where Nintendo shows its hand by just when they speak, and that's why I like Reggie. I mean, Reggie's a bobblehead of a human, right? But at least when he talks, he's an energetic bobblehead, right? And he's hilarious, and he's over the top, and he sometimes you wonder if that dude, sometimes you wonder if that dude's too busy fucking playing games to show up to meetings, right? He does appear that way. The entire presentation shows a point where Nintendo's a boutique company, and they have been for a while. Their consistent misuse of manufacturing to create, items that they pretend are rare, which aren't, like the classic NES thing that just came out a while ago. They do that all the time. They do overprice quite often. But what you're seeing here is a situation where, at least I personally feel, that they've completely misjudged where the actual industry is. The industry is on a downslope towards savings, humble bundles. Every single thread on NeoGAF is about a new sale, about waiting, about not trusting reviewers, about blah, 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 blah. And you have a company that is going literally the opposite way and is like, everything costs more than you would ever expect for what you get. And I'm a fan of Skyrim Mobile. I talked about this in my podcast this morning. If that thing plays at, medium whatever settings at 30 FPS, I'm going to be, I'll be all over that.
Yeah.
But there are so many other problems, and I don't think any game is worth $360, which is what it would be. $300 for the console, $60 right now for whatever game. I had to buy it because I'm a reviewer. But like Matty said, there is no way ever I could look at that and say any normal consumer should purchase that.
Even
and it's not just the price of the console.
You're doing exactly, if you're a diehard Nintendo fan and you buy the Nintendo Switch, I feel like it's almost like a repeat of the Wii U, where you're buying
it is a repeat.
Really select few games, and it's going to be a dust collector for a while afterwards.
And half of them require extra things, or different things. And I've talked to developers who are developing for it, and I'm going to tell you right now, no one's happy. No one is happy about the multiple different control schemes. No one.
Yeah.
There are, like, I have a feeling some third-party companies will actually not be doing that, because the word is that Nintendo is saying, if you want a multiplayer game, it has to work both as you hold it in your hand and play, with the dual thumb pads, right? But it also has to work when you take the Joy-Cons off. The problem is that a lot of developers do not want to take their Rainbow Six Siege and try to get it to work in these weird ways. And they're in two ways, basically. They have to make two control schemes. It has to be able to work for you at home, doing a particular way, and then also if you have a friend over and you decide to do a split screen, let's say, something like that. They have pissed off a lot of people behind the scenes too, and that's completely separate from even the event.
And touching on price as well, price is not just how expensive relatively anyways, the console's fairly expensive, but the accessories are particularly expensive. I mean, I'm looking at the GameStop website now, right? And to get two of those Joy-Con controllers are $80.
Yeah.
The Pro controller itself, for you guys, Matty, you said it was
mind you, hold on, I gotta interrupt you. The Joy-Con is literally the size of my fucking pointer finger. I'm genuinely curious how someone with hands like mine, like I have pretty fucking big hands, I'm really dying to know how I'm gonna play with this fucking Joy-Con. Like I'm going to test the fuck out of it. Hand one of my friends a Joy-Con, I'm gonna have the other. We're gonna do the fucking tabletop split screen thing. I'm gonna see how in the fuck I'm gonna do it.
Yeah,
I have a question.
It's a worry. No, go ahead. Ask the question. I'm just going to be negative.
So did you guys watch the video this morning? The Tree of Woe Conan video?
That really for something I wasn't relatively hyped about.
So here's the crazy thing, and it was very embarrassing. And it's the first time I think I can remember in a long time, and it was far more embarrassing than last night. They were playing a game, multiplayer, multiple people, and they basically sort of stopped and were like, this is just too chaotic. And these are the Nintendo people. And they were like, yeah, it's just, one of the guys said, it's not even controlled chaos. It's just chaos. And they just stopped playing the game. And they got that uncomfortable moment where like an E3 game crashes when you're demoing it.
Oh, no.
And it was the moment where I was watching going, did I miss something? Like, what just happened? I mean, it became incredibly uncomfortable. And then they're like, well, anyway. And they just sort of moved on. And the thing is, if it were me, I would have put my Hobbit feet up and I would have pretended to enjoy the fuck out of that thing. I would have been, if I was a Nintendo, employee.
Yeah.
But there was something really telling about that. And I don't mean it in a bad way. I mean it in a way where it seems like Nintendo is like not prepared. Like I said, there is something really weird going on. Like there is something that points to a situation behind the scenes, whether that be a change in the hardware, which there are rumors that at one time it was more powerful, less powerful, it did different things. It's got an RFID reader, it's got HD rumble,
what is that you can feel
it's
a
haptic.
Glass? What is that? I don't.
Yeah, it is.
Is it just like
haptic feedback?
Okay, so you're saying it's like the right and left trigger on the Xbox One, that haptic feedback?
No, it's more like the Steam controller where it's really hard to describe. You'll have to look it up. Basically, it is HD rumble in a way where it will feel more realistic and it will have a more fidelity. But once again, it shows Nintendo's complete, almost baffling oddness when they did their presentation, because I almost felt like Nintendo was saying, hey, guess what? We just figured out humans have arms. Because the entire presentation was about hands and controls and controllers. And half of the way through the video, I'm just like, I don't know what, I mean, it's almost like watching a TV and somebody says TVs are awesome. And you're like, no shit, dude, I'm watching you on one. There's all these different issues that make me scared to death that they jumped the gun for some weird reason.
What's interesting is that they, I don't know if you guys caught wind that their stock dropped 6% after the presentation.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it did. But touching on those motion controls though, like I agree in the sense that the games industry and gamers in particular, I think we've shown a propensity to like the simple things. When a console or, any kind of motion controls are too complex, we stray away from it. With the Kinect, with all these other things. The Wii was relatively simple, right? We're more so looking for a simple console that can play games at a relatively good fidelity. I mean, that's mostly where we're at
and a relatively good price.
Right, exactly right.
Yeah,
but
right.
This huge focus on being able to tell how much water is in this cup and how much ice is being dropped in, like, it's cool, but most gamers see that as gimmicky. from my perspective. And I think that the presentation just it didn't really focus on, like Karak said, I guess, where the games industry is at right now. And that does worry me, because I know they say that there's 80 games in development and there's third-party support, but the third-party support are the third-party games that you would expect to be on there anyways. Like, we expected FIFA, we expected Minecraft. Like, what we're really looking for are like Battlefield, for example, games that EA treats carefully.
I completely agree. What I expected was a not reporting Skyrim at that point in time at the end of 2017. It will be 6 years old. Okay, I didn't expect them to hype up porting a 6-year-old game over.
And you realize it's not the new version.
I expected them to say, we're hopping into the industry. We are going to go with the trend, and any game coming out on launch will be on the Switch.
Yeah,
that's what I expected. Yeah. Nothing crazy. Yeah. Like I said, they're going with these ports and stuff. It reminds me, it's actually scary reminiscent of the Vita, and I got that feeling right when they came out and announced FIFA, because I was like, Vita had a FIFA, and they had a couple of really good single-player exclusives like Gravity Rush and Uncharted Golden Abyss that were, should sell systems just like Zelda would, and I don't know what's nearby. ARMS, I don't fucking know. I mean, like I said, Super Mario Odyssey and Zelda are really the only ones that seemed like console sellers to me, but they're so far apart. The point being is that it reminded me so much of the Vita, and that's not a good thing. As much as I love the system, that's not a good thing to have your system be a reminder of a PlayStation Vita. I hope it doesn't turn out that way. I mean, Nintendo
I saw someone tweet this out as well, that this console, like the kinds of games that are coming out, are very appealing towards a Japanese audience and not so much to a Western audience. And correct me if I'm wrong, Matty, but the PS Vita kind of had that issue as well.
Yep.
And Western audiences,
those are the only new games that come out on the PS Vita are strictly Japanese games, and I'm open to that audience and that type of game style, but not everyone is whatsoever. And if Nintendo wants to start pick it up, they need to appeal to the Western audience. It's as simple as that. Like I said, I will restate it. I have an appreciation for Japanese culture, but when I'm watching you guys on stage being fucking weird, not even funny, just weird, and I'm uncomfortable. And I'm pretty open-minded with that shit. I don't know what to tell you. Clearly, you fucking missed the ball. That fucking Splatoon
I'm so
guy.
accustomed.
Go ahead. Yeah. Now, I was going to say, but most people, I think, were willing to forgive that kind of cringiness because we knew it was going to be a worldwide presentation, in Japanese, so long as what was being presented was good and enticing to buy this brand new console. Then it would have been like, there's a couple memes. There's already 40,000 memes and GIFs coming from this presentation. But overall, the big focus would have been on, at least they got the games right, the system right. And that's up in the air, really. I don't think, not even up in the air. They really didn't, if we're honest. And I know it sounds like backwards because we should confront the fact that all three of us pre-ordered it, but it's all for our jobs. So, but it's all tax deductible, so that don't take our pre-orders as anything. It's not telling.
But here's what's scary to me is that, so I'm accustomed to, especially where we worked, you would have major meetings, 10,000, 20,000 people at a meeting, watching via, various different videos, and then as well as on site. One of the things that was odd to me, and as somebody who spoke at those, occasionally you would have a situation where you were trying to sell something, or you're trying to show something, and there wasn't enough information. And so what would happen is, in the old days, it was called a song and dance, but it's changed to various different descriptions. But basically what it meant was you stretch out particular things. And Jack Trenton has spoke pretty openly now that he's left Sony about the Emotion Engine being the biggest line of bullshit ever. But because words, you're like, oh, it's this. It seemed to be that Nintendo was completely without actual footage for things. And so what they did was they told us about ice. They didn't show us a game where ice cubes were in a game. Yeah, because I think people are thinking, oh, I'm just being negative. It's not that I'm being negative. It's that I can't give you an example of why I should be positive. And there's a big problem with that when you also couple it with the fact that Nintendo has consistently been sort of in this route for a while, and they have also consistently seen a slight, less and less people being interested in it. And I don't necessarily think that the idea to go out there David Blaine style and start casting magic spells and and not show Mario. If I was running it, do you know what I would have done? I would have started and finished with a good level walkthrough of a Mario level. Because
you know what is weird as well,
footage.
Though? You know what's weird, though? Do you remember those rumors that were like, all right, Breath of the Wild isn't going to be a launch title, but Super Mario Odyssey is. But now, Super Mario Odyssey is coming out in however many months. Like, what happened with that? Because, again, I'm not saying... Like, if genuinely the development time for Super Mario Odyssey meant that it can only come out in the holiday season, fine. But if that was coming out on launch as well, or very close to launch, then I think a lot of people would be much happier. But that game is being so delayed, like to holiday season, that I think a lot of people are going to wait for their purchases until then as well.
Yeah. I mean, well, you scared me because you just reminded me they said they had 80 games. And if you do, again, some tabletop math, you can figure out just by looking at how long it's going to be. If they started getting new people making games the very minute they said 80 out loud, you're still talking about many years, 3 years before those hit. There is a very distinct issue that we didn't see EA, we didn't see Ubisoft. And I get that they don't necessarily always jump on Nintendo stuff, but Bethesda did, which is, I think, set a lot of fans up for a bit of a depressing moment last night. Because I think a lot of people saw Bethesda and were like, holy shit, Bethesda is working with Nintendo, and they're going to do, which they haven't done. And so I think people got it in their heads that if Bethesda's going to do it, then of course, so-and-so and so-and-so would do it. And they're not. And they're not. We get a couple announcements this morning, but they're very lean. And to be honest, they are incredibly safe games being announced.
No, and exactly, safe games. And even if people say, Bethesda supporting them, that's great. I agree, that's great. But they're doing so with a port or with a remaster that they already had in production, and so they put it on there.
I don't even think it's special edition. That's the thing, because no one.
It is absolutely not. It's already been. They already did footage.
No,
it's not special
it's the old
edition.
version.
That means there's no mods. That's just vanilla Skyrim, and that's going to be
that's the thing, though.
Like,
so you've got Bethesda doing that version of Skyrim. You've got Bandai Namco doing Dragon Ball Xenoverse. You've got Mojang doing Minecraft. EA doing FIFA. Like, these are very safe games that we already know about.
Yeah, what's
There's
telling
nothing
of this
new.
is that it's not going to be a simple port for all these games, which means that developers are going to have to split off development and make a whole entire different version for that Nintendo Switch, to optimize for it, to get control specifically for it, because like you said, Karak,
two control schemes.
Yeah, two control schemes with the Joy-Cons and the Pro Controller. It seems like it's a much more focused development than just like, make it on the PC port to console or vice versa, which I don't think gamers like, but you get what I'm saying, that it's not as simple as that. You got to now do, if you're a big developer, maybe you got to do the PC, make it on PC, port it to console, and then you got to have a split off development for the Switch. And that might take more time, more money. It could push games' launch times back to launch on the Switch, which then splits the market up, perhaps. There's a lot of issues with it. That
I think another problem is technically, we're pretty. I mean, you guys and myself. I mean, I do walk in the walks. I do technical talks about fairly technical stuff, and so my fans and the people watching are a little bit more technically advanced than they used to be. And so I think to be honest, a lot of them wanted more tech and more power. And so when they see those kind of things, and I mean, there's also that, and they're more intelligent now. I mean, fans are more intelligent. They know more. There's more info for them. And
enough bullshit to learn.
Exactly. And I think that Nintendo just absolutely was tone deaf. I mean, ignoring, by the way, like you said, like, who cares about it? I had to sit and watch the Kinect let's all wear raincoats video. So, like, I know what a bad press event is like. And yet, ignoring that even, there was almost nothing of substantial. There was a guy in jorts with a cowboy hat, and that was about it. Like, that's what I took out of it. I think I even got a hold of Wanderer. I can't remember, but I was posting to people just being like, dude, did anybody see the cowboy jorts wearing, dude? Because that's like the highlight of this event. Their ending with Zelda was great, also very intelligent, but it's telling that they didn't sit people down and say, here's some footage of, like, here's some good non-scripted footage of these games.
Mm-hmm. Well, even sit us down and say, because we are a bit more technically smarter, I guess. in more recent times, gamers that is, sitting us down and say, all right, here are the actual technical specs for the Nintendo Switch. Because look at the contrast, right? Look at what PlayStation has done, or Sony has done with the PS4 Pro, and look at what Xbox is doing with the Scorpio. They're saying we're releasing these powerful consoles. Here are the exact specs. Here's the resolution you're going to be able to run it at. Blah, 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 blah. And we just didn't get that from Nintendo at all. And
my big problem that I just looked to my right and thought of when I saw my 3DS is that even irrelevant at this point, because the Switch uses cartridges. The Switch doesn't seem to, aside from, like, I'm going to repeat myself for like the 40th time, aside from Zelda, Mario, and Skyrim for myself personally, ARMS as well, but regardless, that seems kind of like a gimmick more than anything, so I'm not going to like count that in the list of games that are making me super excited. Does it even make the 3DS irrelevant? Are they still going to be supporting that? Because as far as I'm concerned, that could be the gaming on the go machine that most people have when it comes to handheld gaming. So is Nintendo throwing that out the window for this take on handheld gaming, where you're going to have the console home experience but also take that console game on the go? Or are they just abandoning the 3DS? It just left more questions. Also, have you guys seen what they're doing with their virtual console? Like, okay, we got the PSN and the X. Yeah, exactly. I'm fucking laughing too. This is what bothered me the most. You get the PSN, or PS Plus, I'm sorry, and the Xbox Live Gold. Pay X amount of dollars a month, you get the online service, as well as a free slew of games per month. And Nintendo had a good idea, I thought. Hey, let's give them like one NES game and one SNES game. Like, bring back some of the classics, get some gamers refamiliarized with those. Except, you don't keep them, you rent them for a fucking month. Once that month is up, you don't have them anymore. It's not it's not like what a lot of people do, which is, I'm going to go to the Games for Gold, I'm going to go to my PS Plus section, I'm going to add this thing to my cart, download it, not really download it, but save it for a rainy day, which a lot of gamers do. And they take full advantage of the service provided for them. And Nintendo is taking games so fucking old and getting cheap with them. I can't believe it. Like, I'm thinking, like, you're gonna say Contra is gonna be one of the free NES games, and you're gonna tell me I can't fucking keep that I can only rent that shit for a month? Like,
I didn't know that.
I don't get that.
And what's crazy is they're like, hey, look, our online when we release will be free, and then we'll charge you once people actually have games to play on it. It's the weirdest thing in the world. It's like,
that I read it's going to be free throughout all of 2017. I don't know if that makes a difference on what you said there, but it
doesn't really, because of the games. Now, if a bunch of games come up, that's going to be awesome, but I'm going to tell you right now, if it's free in 2017, guess what? It should be free in 2018. And you know what? It should be free in 2019, because Nintendo did one thing. They copied Sony and Microsoft. They went and looked at how they handle online, and the only thing they took out of that was to charge people at some point. Who the fuck thinks that's a good idea?
Especially when they're saying, now,
excuse my language.
Could be, no, here's where I get a little confused too. Now we're talking about online play. Okay, I think that was widely considered one of Wii U's biggest faults, was the fact that it didn't have a focus on online play. I don't even think there was voice chat for Splatoon. So, Nintendo is saying that they will have an app for you to communicate with your friends. Now, I don't know if they mean application on the Nintendo Switch, or if they mean application like a phone app. I am praying that they do not think I'm going to be sitting there with my phone hooked up as my party chat for my Nintendo Switch.
Do you want me to ruin your day?
Go for it.
Oh, no.
It is a phone app. That's
no.
already they already did. There's a huge I'm reading the thread right now on NeoGAF. There's a huge thread. I'll continue to read it because new info could come for sure. But it does. They are saying that it's definitely a paid for app. By the way,
hold on. You're saying that the way we communicate on the Switch to other gamers is through a paid for phone app separate from the Switch.
The way you so we know for a fact that they're going to allow you to send each other pictures and like drawings. So of course, dick drawings, first thing I'm going to send everybody, right? We know that's completely separate. But what was announced and what people are reporting on this morning is that if you want like a audio kind of connection, that kind of thing, whether it be video or not, it is an app on a phone. It is separate, and that's what I'm looking for.
Call someone on my fucking phone.
I'm just looking right now, so this could be wrong, but I read it this morning.
Do you have it up right now?
I'm looking right now. Yeah.
I'm kind of lost for words at the moment, guys.
And it could be wrong, but that is what they were reporting this morning, and people were. Voice chat on the Switch will consist of a paid app on smart devices, your phone. Let's see if there's an update. Online lobby and chat. Our new dedicated smart device app will connect to Nintendo Switch and let you invite friends to play online, set play appointments, and chat with friends during online matches and compatible games, all from your smartphone or device.
No.
A free and limited version of the app will also be available for download. So
I don't know what to say.
Premium paid, looks like. Online lobby and voice chat will be separate.
And that's pay on top of the online fee?
No. The app will come if you have the online paid subscription. Premium.
That's something. Okay,
that's something.
That
so
is
you're not
something.
paying two services. You're paying one, you get the app.
And you get it. But if you drop one, the other stops working, of course.
Does Nintendo think I don't have friends? Like, I don't need my fucking cell phone or something? Dude, like, all I'm going to do is hook up my laptop and use Skype. Like, fuck that. Especially because the key word is talk in compatible games. So if I'm playing Zelda and Loans on Mario, or vice versa, more likely.
Crap, I see what you're saying.
Then I can't fucking talk to them. I'm not using your chat service. That's dog shit.
Especially because people are so used to, like, Discord now and how seamless and easy that is. I don't. Okay, look.
Here's what it says. The rumor is that let's see, there is no in-chat voice game on the system because the Switch actually has no mic and no mic accessory port, meaning all voice chat has to be done via a phone or something else. Now you could use a USB device, but something about its USB devices are questionable.
I saw they had a headphone jack, and I thought it was going to work like the PS4 controller.
Phone will.
A stereo where it goes both ways.
Yeah, you plug in anything with a headphone jack that has headphones attached for the PS4. You plug it in and it works, and I love that. That is one of Sony's most brilliant designs, in my opinion. It makes any type of headset, any type of headphones in general, accessible.
Microsoft does it now too. The Xbox S is the same.
Yeah, and it's great. It really is.
Great.
That's one of the great innovations I think that came from mind you, this may sound minor, but I think it was a big deal. Because, for example, I bought a brand new pair of Astros just a couple of months ago, and they were Xbox only, but I saw, this headphone jack disconnects, and guess what? Now it works for both my PS4 and my Xbox One. I have this brand new top of the line headset. So it's just that type of stuff that Nintendo's not taking advantage of because they want to make money. They'll probably make their own headset line, if anything. They won't say, hey, Turtle Beach, let's partner up, let's make something unique like a headset with little Mario plates on the side. No, they'll make their own. They'll make their own, like, you know how the Xbox One, when people were wondering how they could use their 360 headsets with the one, they came out with this adapter and it was, like, sold out like that. That's what Nintendo's going to do. They're going to make their own fucking bullshit adapter with their own Nintendo headset line. They're going to think of a way to cash in on this and milk more of their fanboys dry, is what they're going to do.
So, I have a question for you guys. Both of you guys own either a Wii or a Wii U?
I have the Wii U.
Okay. It's something that was brought up in the podcast earlier today where we were talking and one of the guys was saying that it felt like this is the first time where a company has learned nothing from its own prior console. Mm-hmm. That, like, there isn't a jump in. For example, Xbox One, it came with the adapter. Completely stupid, right? And then they're like, holy shit, this is dumb. Let's drop the adapter. The S comes with a normal stereo thing, all that kind of stuff. Like even Microsoft picks up on shit sooner or later. But for some reason, and this is again is for people who know the Wii U more than I do, but from what I'm hearing from a lot of Wii U owners, and in fact, they are all 3DS owners, by the way, Matty, but they all said the same thing. They were like, it feels like Nintendo they lost their notes, like they're peachy. They lost it. They dropped it in class, and they don't remember what happened. They didn't improve on anything, and that to me is more for you guys to speak about. But that to me is really scary if that's true, and it certainly, from what I'm hearing from you guys and just looking online, it does seem like in many ways it doesn't improve the online. It doesn't improve like many aspects that you would normally assume a company would get better at progressively as they went through the process of selling items. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, because I think a good example of a company who's improved up until I think this year was Microsoft, if I'm honest. I know you might probably disagree with that, but for me, I feel like when you look at how they announced it with, what was it, Don Matrick, I think his name was, in 2013, and how it was just like TV, and
sure.
They hired Phil Spencer, and the focus went on games, and the system started selling a lot better. 2017 rolls around, they don't have a single player game for shit. They just have their recognizable brands such as Halo, Crackdown, Gears didn't sell as well. So they're definitely on a bit of a downward spiral right now, and they desperately need new single player IPs. But regardless, what I'm saying is that before that was a company I think that you look at and they said, okay, we fucked up, let's push forward. And gamers tend to, I think, I don't want to say hold on to things, but you've noticed gamers will constantly give like a company they don't approve of their decisions shit until they change. And Microsoft changed, and they kept to their guns on, we're going with games, this is how we're going to build our platform. And no one really gives them shit about how bad they got beaten out by PlayStation off the bat.
Right.
And how
they've turned things around. I mean, Phil
Did you guys
Spencer.
Did you guys see the numbers for NPD? They're closer They're closer now than they actually made ground, which blows my mind because you wouldn't assume so.
But NPD is just US data, right?
They do a great job with their early access program, and their games for gold are good, in my opinion. They just did like Sleeping Dogs. It's one of my favorite games. I love that. Yeah, so I think they do pretty well with that type of program. Obviously, there's a lot of Xbox loyalists out there who stick with live. That's a big thing. So I'm not shocked that they've eventually turned it around. Because, Sony did that before. The PS3 was lagging behind an entire generation, and it came up to almost 50-50
and then it caught up at the end.
Yeah, so right. I wasn't surprised to see Xbox start coming back and forth, and I think that's what really sparked their comeback was like, okay, they did it to us, let's do it to them.
But you know what the thing that we need to point out here, and Karak touched on this before when he said that Microsoft or Sony haven't woken up this morning and thought, oh shit, is that all of this change and innovation that that Microsoft did, that PlayStation or Sony did, is because of competition. They saw that the other competitor was doing really well and kicking ass, and they had to do the exact same. The worry that I have, similar to what Karak said, is that because Nintendo didn't just knock it out of the park, Microsoft and Sony might rest on their laurels a little bit. If Nintendo had kicked ass with this presentation and was kicking ass with the games and with the Switch itself, that would only force Xbox and Sony to innovate even more, to even give more value to gamers, and we might not get that now, and that's a worry for me as well.
I agree. That's true, because like everyone said before this, a healthy Nintendo is very good for the industry.
It's very good.
Yeah, because then it's not two companies competing, it's three, and one of them is the odd man out who's trying all these weird, wacky things and maybe succeeding with them, but I mean, here's the thing, is that everyone was ready to support the Switch, and I think they still are. I don't think all hope is gone, but I think they dropped the ball a bit on their big reveal. Yeah. How did they turn it around is my question. How did they go, okay, we didn't do so hot there. Let's get gamers on board with the Switch and start.
You know how they do it? They go out and they get third-party support as soon as fucking possible, and they lie through their teeth because you can't fake what's happened. So it will be lies. But that's something we're all accustomed to. All these companies lie. That's the first thing you should know the moment you get into this industry is their job is to make money. What Nintendo has done is they've made sure they make more, right? They're a little less interested in cutting that closer. Mm-hmm. So they're going to lie about things. But if I were Nintendo, I would be getting every third party immediately, just as Matty said, day and date. If this comes out for the Xbox One and PS4, we are supplying game engine specifications for these people. We are going to send programmers to help. And we're going to make sure that they come out day and date on the Switch, and in some acceptable format, because there are some issues with the size of the games. 32 gigabytes is not huge. It depends on the memory how it uses its memory. But those flash cards it's coming on or whatever they're coming on, there's issues there. There's issues with speed, how it's delivered. There's some issues with its actual media. But they really need to basically say, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that a person who has a Switch does not feel left out and instead feels supported by Nintendo, which the problem is I don't know many people who woke up and said, I feel supported by Nintendo this morning.
Mm-hmm. I mean, who woke up and said, that impulsive pre-order I made last night was totally worth it. Because I don't spend my money willy-nilly, but I make sure I try to invest in my channel when I can. And I knew this was an investment I was making for my channel. But even then, I was still like, I don't really want to do this.
And we're going to get copyright striked anyway, dude.
That's the
this
thing,
is the
is that
interesting thing.
they sent a mass email saying if you want to like stream the Switch reveal and your reactions, here's a link or an embed. Like I was like, are they kind of flipping their policy?
And as well, did you notice that in the presentation, they're like, you can share screenshots and videos, and I don't know what that means, and I don't know the extent of that change.
Their internal app allows for, when you push the button, you can choose Xbox record this kind of situations. Yeah. And you can share it on your profile page, or that they will have, which will, I'm sure, be locked out for most online. But there is and has been zero information to any of the Nintendo channels that I'm talking to right now that states that Nintendo has any inkling whatsoever that they're going to switch and allow people to do. In fact, they just recently banned one of their own high-level Nintendo channels that basically decided to give one of their games a somewhat poor review, and they were just like, "Yeah, you're no longer in our partner program." And that was recent.
Which channel is that?
I'll look it up. I just talked about it on my podcast last Friday in the international podcast, so I'll go back and listen. It was somebody who contacted me, and they were like, "Dude, if you're thinking about covering this," I was one of them, and he was one of the major channels, and they were like, and he wasn't. Oh my God, what he said was not anything near what I would say. Like, I mean, my levels of evil and cruelty is far beyond his, and what he said was so tame. And they basically, he noticed he was getting no games, and he contacted them, and they were like, and they basically said, we're referring you to the terms of service, and they highlighted, that they could cease it at any time. And he had been one of the major Nintendo, streamers. So, yeah, it's sad. It's sad. I don't see them changing that, Matty. I think you and I made a purchase. I'm going to cover it. I'm going to get struck. That's fine. I'm going to cover it as much as I can in some way. But I think that I don't see that there's anything that looks like they're changing that to me. I mean,
I know.
I don't know whether
you can like talk about it and stuff as long as you're not showing it. You know what I'm
exactly.
saying? Like I made a video about Skyrim on the Nintendo Switch, and I just showed one screenshot, and the rest was my own Skyrim gameplay from the PC, and it hasn't been touched. So I think it's really dependent. I think it's got to be like an exclusive to Nintendo. I don't fucking know. Their program's stupid though, but as long as you talk about it without showing it, then it's whatever.
Do you guys, when you look at it, so I didn't really get a full answer from you guys. Do you guys feel that they have improved? Because we started talking about Microsoft,
right?
But I was wondering, do you guys actually do you guys feel improved. That they've lost? Okay, go ahead.
No, I'm saying they have improved in some areas. So, for example, I know we've been fairly negative, but in terms of positive. Region locking, that was a really, really big thing, right? The fact that things aren't region locked and I can go buy a Switch from the US or whatever, that is definitely a positive, and that's a sign of improvement.
The talk about third party, although they didn't show it, I think the talk about it, maybe you could say is a sign of improvement. You know what I'm saying?
At the very least, that they do have NBA, Skyrim, Dragon Ball Xenoverse coming, that is a sign of improvement. It might not be a big sign of improvement, but it is. But aside from those things, I don't know.
That's the problem. Don't know. Is that you got to really think about it. And once again, I'm going to use Microsoft. It's not that like, oh, right, they fucking... Right. Obviously, it's a game console, but they focus on the fucking games. They pushed all their exclusives. They talked about a ton of shit in their E3 2014 conference where they actually got back on their feet. Funny enough, 3 of the 4 games that they announced there were canceled or unheard of.
Scalebound.
Scalebound canceled.
I'm so
Ori
happy
and the Blind
that
Forest. Really, I agree. I'm one of the few people who I called it too because I said I looked at that thing. I was like, that thing's a train wreck. Look at it.
Here's the thing, guys. As somebody who's worked in development, I can tell you right now, nobody turns halfway around unless you're making the Mad Max movie. I don't know if you guys saw that, but that's what they did there, where they basically went halfway, they got halfway to something and then turned around. And that never happens in development, ever, because you've spent the money. Microsoft canceled it and lost all that money. If somebody thinks that they didn't try to investigate every way to make that back, they are crazy. It's not like somebody woke up and said, let's just cancel the fuck out of everything. And that's one of the problems, is Scalebound is platinum. And I know people love them, but guys, they're not as golden as people think. I mean, they're not. And I love a lot of their games. But that shows some balls to cancel the stuff. And good balls and bad balls, I guess. You know, like you canceled it. What do you got to replace it? But I mean, why spend your money on something? 2014, 15, and 16 sort of sucked, guys. I talked about this in my podcast. It feels like we had a lot of bad games, a lot of games that I wish hadn't been made. Like they legitimately had money spent on them where you look back and go, man, really? This is what 20 million paid for? So the fact that somebody canceled it, I want that to continue. I want companies to start saying, this isn't meeting our requirements, let alone a gamer's requirement. Like, I mean,
you're right. And you know what? Because look at what happened. Look at what happened with Doom, and look at what happened with Prey. I think those games, and what's the previous one that that Bethesda cancelled, and then they re-kicked it again. I think there's another example, but even just looking at Doom, the fact that they're, you know what, we're going to cancel production of this and retry, and they kicked absolute ass with that game. Yeah. And either cancel, as you said, Karak, or reinvigorate, start development again. And I know that you can't always make that decision because it's a huge cost. Because it's a sunk cost. All of that money that you spend in the development of the previous version would go down the drain. But you're right. I would hope that these decisions could be made. But I think Microsoft just reached the point of no return with that. But anyway.
Yeah. But like I said, the 2014, it was the Phantom Dust remake, Ori and the Blind Forest. I want to say Fable Legends and Scalebound. Yeah. And only Ori and the Blind Forest is released since then. 2014 E3. Think about that.
Thank God, because Legends, holy shit. Wow.
Yeah. No, Legends was a good cancellation. Yeah, Legends was a good cancellation because fucking stupid idea. I'm sorry, it was. Just make a Fable fucking 4 or don't make one at all. Or just walk away from the franchise because 3 really wasn't that good.
Yeah.
Scalebound wasn't going to work. I thought the idea was great on paper when they first revealed it.
Right.
They showed gameplay. I was like, it's not going to work. It's going to be clunky. It's not fast enough. It's just, no. Ori and the Blind Forest, beautiful game. That was in my top 5 of, I want to say, 2015 or 2014. I can't remember what year it came out, but honestly,
I need to play that.
Beautiful game. Love it to death.
And fun. And just a great game. Yeah. Like a actual playable good game.
Yeah, very good game. And then Phantom does remake. They just haven't fucking talked about it. And they're doing like an HD remaster on the side, which is like just up-resing the original Phantom Dust, and then they're remaking it, and they haven't shown shit for that. So, yeah, Microsoft's in a really awkward position right now. But in order to answer your question, if Nintendo's made any improvements, like I said, I think it's bad that I have to really think on anything good that stood out to me, and even those goods aren't like, whoa, okay, they got the hang of it here. Like, it's just like little things like region locking. Honestly, when I saw that, I know it sounds ignorant, but I was like, I don't think this impacts me at all. Okay, just myself personally. I mean, if you guys want to explain it more, but when I saw that, I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, does that mean
it pretty much means, Matty,
I could buy a Switch from Japan and import it here, and it'd be fine?
Well, any games that are released in Japan and that never get released or never get westernized, you could buy those games from Japan and play them.
I couldn't understand what the fuck they say though.
Well, a lot of them a lot of them still have English subtitles. So, I mean, look at Microsoft. Like, I've bought a bunch of their games from other places, and because they're either not released or released later in specific areas. So region locking only affects some, but I'm going to tell you right now, you just spoke about the Vita having, a large number of Japanese-based games and stuff like that, and the idea that somebody could go and get those on the Switch is pretty fucking cool. If it's not going to be released here. Additionally, some companies, that saves them money. A couple developers I've talked to are like, that does actually help them because a publisher might not have to foot the bill for particular things in the West that they may have to in a different nation. So there's some positives there for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
but in terms of other improvements, like, I want to say, like, obviously Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, those look fantastic and amazing, but Zelda and Mario have always looked fantastic and amazing. you know what I mean? Like I think Forza.
It's Forza and Gears of War.
No, you're right. You're right. Everyone expected those first-party titles to be there and to be great. That's never been the issue with Nintendo consoles. It's been third-party support, and also as well to an extent, other titles that may be exclusive to the Nintendo and that we haven't seen on other consoles, but that is still good. We always expected first-party titles to be good.
Yeah.
So,
like, that's a good point. That's never been the problem, really. That's not what I was looking for. I was looking for the third party personally.
You know what I was looking for? I was looking for old IPs like Legend of Cage. I'm talking when I played my SNES. You know, I would have died for a Ghouls and Ghosts. Like if they basically said, "We've got Ghouls and Ghosts for Switch," I would say I'm buying 3 Switches so I can play it all at the same time in 3 different places. You know, and of course that's probably Capcom now, but some old ancient IP, because they sit on so many, is what I was hoping for, as well as third party. But I was hoping for a big surprise internally from them.
That's true too. It really there wasn't a big surprise. There wasn't. I liked how they started it off though, because I do like the approach of, okay, here's the price, here's the release date.
Yeah.
Like they didn't bullshit, and then they got right into like, you know, here are the game companies that are supporting us. I was like, okay, like they're rolling right into this, and then it just kind of tapered off and got weird.
Well, and another improvement that I will say as well, that at least for North America, the price is okay. It's $300. I think that's exactly what we predicted.
Except my prediction on the separate bundle was wrong.
Well,
that's one thing though that's good that they did. They didn't split up into a bunch of packages. They instead said, let's just sell one Nintendo Switch. I am so happy. I thought it would have been such a Nintendo move. They did like, oh, we have the black Nintendo Switch here for $300, and then we have the neon red and neon blue that you can get for like $320 or $350. I was so expecting that. Oh my God, I was so ready for them to fucking pull that shit.
Yeah. But luckily they didn't, and the console is priced pretty good there. But
yes,
and that's the thing. That's just for North America. It's not for like Australia or other territories, because I've seen, like, to give you an example with Australia, if you do it, and obviously you never do direct price conversions because that's not how it works. But if you do convert from $300 US to Australian, that's about $400 Australian. So that's about a $70 price increase Australian for shipping and tax and foreign exchange fluctuations. Fair enough, and all that. So $70 of an increase, that makes it a little bit less enticing here. And I know that it's very similar. I think in the UK there's about a £50 or something increase relative because of shipping, etc. So North America, price is fine. Other territories, maybe people, I think, are going to be more incentivized to wait until they actually see games come out for this thing.
Yeah. You know, I have a lot of positives for it in a weird way. I was saying earlier today that it felt like there was a bunch of really small, cool stuff in it that didn't come together to gel into one awesome piece of tech, which is pretty rare, actually. Usually you'll see a piece of tech have one great thing, but then everything else will sort of be meandering because of costs. This one actually has some cool stuff. There is the region locking, which I love. I also like the fact that you just you basically take your own what are they called, Joy-Cons, and you plug them into somebody else's Switch, and they instantly become that Switch's controllers as well. So you can, there's no syncing issues. I thought those were really cool little upgrades. I also like the fact that it's delivering it on flash memory. I like that. I like instant access memory. I love the idea of that. I'm not a big fan of DVDs and CDs because they do rot. I have had ones get scratched, those kind of things. There's actually a couple little things about it that I actually really, really, love. Legitimately excited for, especially region. When they announced the region stuff, they announced it pretty early, so I thought we were going to see a whole different presentation, but that didn't pan out when they announced that, because that's a big deal.
That is a big deal.
A lot of companies don't do that, and I was really impressed with a number of smaller aspects. Like it could. Now, I did make a joke about this on Twitter, so bear with me. But the rock paper scissors, and I said, "Oh, and if it can tell you're playing rock paper scissors, it'll make a noose out of the wrist bracelet and allow you to kill yourself because you're all by yourself." I was making a joke about something that I actually thought it was pretty cool, though. Not that it could find out if you're playing rock paper scissors. But there are a couple ways in which party games, being able to see hand gestures could be phenomenal. Like you could do some crazy shit with something that has that kind of tracking. That's not motion tracking of the item, because it also does that, but motion tracking of something outside of the Joy-Con itself, which is your hand. There are some really cool, like, little bits of tech in that. For example, did you guys know that I'm a Skylanders fan. I like Gauntlet, so Skylanders sort of speaks to me as an old school gamer. They require a portal of power, which is basically a disc you get that reads the chip. The the Skylanders for the for the Switch needs none of that because it's got an RFID reader in it. So you don't even need a port. You just bring the thing over and it reads it like an Amiibo.
That's cool.
And I thought that was like, yeah, because as you move forward with new tech, somebody might come up with some other idea that uses that. Yeah, it's got a lot of really, really cool aspects that I think could be great. It's just that it never came together.
Yeah. You're right. And I think that I found cool, and this is because I played the original Wii, but, being able to hold the Joy-Cons in each hand and, box with them, for example, like that's a cool thing. There's a lot of little cool things that I just don't know whether together, collectively, they offer a really compelling console. Unless there's the games that actually support that. But with the Wii, for example, I owned that for years. And from the moment that I bought it until the moment, I stopped playing it, the motion controls were only really used for Wii Sports. That's honestly the only game. Like, you can consider the Legend of Zelda game that came on there, Skyward Sword, which that was cool. Like, that used the Wii controls perfectly. But that was one game and a first-party game. We again, going back to the point, we expect those games to work. We expect first-party games to take advantage of those little cool motion controls and other aspects. But the thing that's going to be very crucial is having third-party support that, and I don't know whether that's going to be the case.
Do I think Steep is going to support a mixture of the movement as well as the gesture reader, because if you hold those like skis, if you hold them like
that would be cool. That would be fucking awesome. Yeah,
and it would use both. It would use both technologies. It would use the movement technology, but could also scan the ground to see where you're moving.
Did you see?
Is that they need to stop picking the games for the Switch to enforce the gimmick. I don't think the gimmick for the Switch is a bad thing. I'll say what everyone's thinking. I'm looking forward to that moment I'm playing Zelda on my TV. Oh, I gotta take a shit and clipping the fucking Joy-Cons in and going to my bathroom and keep playing Zelda without stopping. I'm looking forward to that moment. But
guys, I have to
disagree. You have to show.
Okay. Yes, I'm gonna send you a link. Did you guys ever see the trailer for Milk for the Switch?
Oh yeah. Oh dude, yes. It's delicious. Oh my
god. What the fuck, man?
Yeah. 1-2 Switch looks stupid. I just, in terms of positives though, I'll focus on the positive side here.
Yeah, let's continue.
Like I said, I don't think the system concept itself either is bad whatsoever. I love the idea of taking the games on the go, because many times my friend will call me, hey, what are you doing? You want to come up and chill? Sure. Clip my fucking Joy-Cons onto the side of my tablet, take my Zelda, take my Mario, take my Skyrim, whatever, up to my friend's house. Most certainly looking forward to doing that. I like the Joy-Cons to some extent when we see how they're being used in like ARMS, where there's different mechanics, such as like twisting your wrist and that'll curve the fist, and you're constantly jumping. It's really fast-paced action. I really like ARMS. That's one game that, although it seems a bit gimmicky, I'm just kind of behind. Yeah. What else is there? I like the simplicity of it, that I'm going to take essentially a tablet and a little AC adapter with me, and that's what I need to keep my system alive. It's not really a bunch of wires unless I want to hook it up to a TV. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
What else is there?
But these are kind of stuff that we knew already, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've already went over the games I like multiple times.
Did you guys know the internal battery cannot be removed? The charging time is longer than 3 hours, and they just said they clocked Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild at up to 3 hours for the full charge time. So your charge time, or for the full playtime, so your charge time is longer than playtime. That's pretty crazy.
Does it charge while sitting in the dock? I never asked that question.
Yeah, it does? It charges that. It's a 4300 mAh LiPo, so that's lithium ion. So let's see, that's a high current charge. That will most likely not charge with a normal cell phone charger. No, it won't. For a fact, it won't. That will not charge with a normal like cell phone charger. Most likely won't run off cell phone extra batteries either. I don't know if you guys have those, but I have a couple of those that like they're an additional battery you can run around. But if a 4300 divided by 3, yeah. So you'd need something that delivers over 1000 mAh to give it the 3 hour charge time. So
my thing with the charging is that so long. I don't know if this is going to be the case, but if you're charging on the go, so long as the Switch isn't consuming enough power to kind of make like do you know when you're using your phone and you're charging it and it still goes down the battery life and the percentage? I'm hoping that that's not the case with the Switch, and I think it's going to be because gameplay is so intensive. If it's able to curve that somehow with external battery packs, then I'd be a happy man, but I don't know. I think it's just going to delay how fast your battery is drained.
The battery pack is not removable. And not there are no additions. If it's necessary to exchange it, Nintendo will exchange it for a fee. I'm reading their FAQ they just released in Japan. The internal battery cannot be removed. That is not what I wanted to hear. God damn it. That is
because that means you could like charge 5 battery packs at once.
That's exactly. I'm a cheater. That's exactly what I would have done. Yeah.
But I'm also talking about like, buying an external USB-C charger, right? Being able to charge the Switch through that method.
Yeah, as long as it's over 1,000 mAh, which, for example, mine is 200. So I would need a much larger.
Yeah, I have 700.
Yeah, because a 700, just so you know, a 700 would not power it and charge it. That's for sure. You're looking more at a 9. You're probably looking, just depending on gameplay, of course, because you'll be pausing it and, whatever. You're probably looking, I do airsoft batteries all the time, so usually you can figure this stuff out. You're usually looking at like an 850 to 950 mAh to allow you to be able to play at pretty much its full whatever and still charge, trickle charge of about 10 to 100.
I'm trying not to be negative. I'm trying.
Well, there's a lot of positive too. I mean,
it's just one. I don't know if in the long run that's my issue. Is I see positive up front. Like I'm seeing spurts of positivity. Like when I was looking at the game list, okay, we're getting Zelda first. Every other launch game can kiss my ass, really. April, probably not gonna play Mario Kart. So hopefully May is ARMS. I'm looking forward to ARMS. After that, maybe Splatoon 2 if the party online app isn't dog shit. I mean. It's like I said, they're so few and far between where I'm already. It's not like my PS4 or my Xbox One where once I got it, like that was it. That was my console. I didn't touch my 360 or my PS3 since. Well, I mean, I touched my PS3 a couple of times. Point being, though, is that it was easy to abandon those consoles, for example. I don't see this large jump with the Switch where I'm going to say, fuck my 3DS, fuck my Wii U. I was thinking like, I'm probably going to sell my Wii U after this because, they'll just port over all the games from the Wii U to the Switch because there'll be a bigger audience there and there'll be better versions of the game. Because I thought if you're hearing about a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, why not bring over Bayonetta 2? I guarantee not enough people played that game. But
I'm hoping
fantastic.
To be fair, like we haven't heard anything about the Virtual Console, and that's what I'm still really betting on. I think if we're still going to get games from the Wii U, those are going to be via the Virtual Console. And as soon as, and that's what I was kind of wishing that they talked about that, and they didn't. If they came out and said, "Alrighty, GameCube games, 64 games, Wii U games, all these games are going to be on the Virtual Console," even though you have to pay for that, I would be so happy with that because that would still give me enough filler to wait until third parties really start supporting this thing. So that's why I pre-ordered it, and that's why I still have hope for this thing. Are you worried though, Lone, since it's got 32 gigabytes internal? You're probably talking about 4 for the OS. You can use a micro SDX. You can use a micro. Yeah. But you would have to buy it. So I'm talking about what you get with the system. No, you're right, and you have to buy that, and you have to buy an external battery pack. External charger if you want to charge it on the go. Like, there's a lot of things that you need to buy, and if a Joy-Con ever fucks up, or you want to buy a Pro Controller, there's accessories are fairly expensive. Here's what's weird to me: they're offering digital, which is awesome, digital games. The Virtual Console, that's all great stuff. But at the same time, every positive has a negative, and the negative here with this one is a horrendously small internal footprint for its memory. I mean, that's insane. Especially when you start looking at just a couple games on the Wii U would absolutely fill it. And I don't know, there's so many buying things. It's like, if you want to do this, you have to buy this. If you want to do this, you have to buy this. And it's burning me out a little bit because somebody told me yesterday, they were like, well, why are you mad at the small release number of release titles? And I was like, no, I'm not mad. It's that it's coming out. Nintendo is unaware of its competition. Its competition is sales and very, very entrenched, currently upgrading on their own consoles. This is not the same thing ever. This has never been done. This is two consoles that are upgrading in place, PS4 Pro and Scorpio, against Nintendo, who's coming in. And then Nintendo
is trying to say, well, our release schedule and the games that we have, barring Virtual Console, are supposed to be, as good as a normal new console release, because they've never been that great. No console's really released with a ton of great games. But no console's ever released into this environment. It's like fucking jumping into a football game where it's already halftime.
Have you ever thought maybe what they're doing, this is just a stretch to give those out there who are listening a bit of hope, is that perhaps they know, okay, they got the Scorpio coming out this year. Or I don't know if it's just a reveal, but I'm pretty sure they said it's coming out this year too.
Thanks.
And so they're anticipating that market where there's already an established fan base. Maybe they're going to go really hard at E3 and holiday, because, think of it this way. You got Skyrim, you got Super Mario Odyssey, and then if you announce a bunch of intriguing titles for the holiday season, then when I'm looking at a Switch at that point in time, I'm going to look and say, okay, they got Zelda, what other games people might find interesting, like Splatoon 2. Oh, and in the fall, they got Skyrim. I haven't played that in a while. I didn't get the special edition, which I imagine most people who wanted Skyrim probably picked it up again. But still, point being is that there might be a different perspective Nintendo's anticipating closer to the holiday season when they're expecting to ship more units. And perhaps they're anticipating that competition with the Microsoft, who's going to be launching a new type of system. So
maybe. Just, like, to be honest,
that's just an idea to toss out there, because I know this has been an not overly negative, but we're trying to be real with the system here. But at the same point, Nintendo has been known to do very odd things, so it's possible that they're anticipating more competition later, because right now they're out in the open. It's January. No one's really announcing anything. There are a lot of game launches this month, but aside from Resident Evil 7, I don't think it's anything major. So
look, I know that this podcast, like we've been negative, and even as someone myself personally that was very excited for it, I've been a bit negative. But I will say that I'm still I still pre-ordered it, and I'm still hoping that things can be turned around, because I think I just overestimated Nintendo, like the ability for Nintendo to come out of the gate really strong with all these games, and probably that was a fault on my side. I think it's going to be a much slower burn, but eventually I think Nintendo can turn around. That I have no doubts that eventually maybe there will be a lot of third-party games. The console will be cheaper. There will be heaps of virtual console support, and the online system will improve, to a better extent than what it is now. I have no doubts that could happen, and I'm hoping that that's going to happen. So that's, I guess, it's not really a positive, but I'm not losing hope. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't think they're at the point of
no return.
No return. Yeah, exactly. I don't think they're at that point, but they're dangerously fucking close, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I just to be honest, we're using positive and negative a lot, and my personal opinion is that it's just actually being honest about its environment and the situation in which it's jumping into, and it's not necessarily negative or positive. It's the facts of the situations, and the competitiveness in this environment is much higher. My job is not to ever give too much of a shit about the main companies and care about the games. That's my job, because I review. So I looked at this as it's a new system, which is going to be exciting, but also what games. And I'm going to tell you right now, as a games person, it was one of the worst presentations ever. And this is something I started back when E3 didn't even have video. So that was sad. That's what I took away from it, was that games, everything else aside, right? Charging time, because people will put up with some heinous shit if something is good. We will.
Yeah.
I will. And what I saw isn't negative. I don't feel it's negative at all. I feel it is literally what we saw, which was that there is nothing for me to grab onto right now. So if there was, that'd be great, but I don't feel comfortable even grabbing onto anything, because I did not see the Wii magically fix a bunch of its issues, and I did not see the Wii U magically fix a bunch of its issues. So I'm a little nervous of saying that I'm not saying that there's not a chance. What I'm saying is that there hasn't been a past history of it. Now, Matty said, okay, Nintendo could announce a bunch of stuff at E3. That is correct. If Nintendo can, Microsoft can. That's one of the things people don't like to do. They never like to give the benefit to both companies, or 3 companies, or 4 companies, or 5 companies. They can all turn it around. It's absolutely true. Microsoft's fucking up right now, and Nintendo is. And my hope is that they show concrete, actual proof that a ton of good games are coming really fucking soon. And I don't mean waiting until E3. Mm-hmm. And that's as a game fan. That is a game fan. I want to buy something and play games on it. And I don't think that's negative. I think it's being very honest and just.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, just
and
how
hurts,
people
though.
register. Why do you hate Nintendo? It's like I fucking don't. I fucking went into this shit like praying that it was gonna be something amazing, that I was gonna love it, and not even like high hopes. Like, oh, my expectations were too high. It's just that it just wasn't a good reveal event. It's simple as that.
Yeah, I think that the more we can actually sort of cut off the positive, negative, and start like delivering like honest ideas, the better it is, because people will do exactly what Matty just said, which is where they come into an event and they don't get their hopes up too high. They get them normal. And unfortunately, I will be honest, I felt that my hopes for this were very normal, maybe even a little low, and they still didn't meet them. That happens. That does actually happen. But I think, some people may say, oh, you just hate Nintendo, but that's probably in many ways a person who would say something else that wouldn't make a ton of sense. So
that couldn't be further from the truth, I think, generally, because, again, it's going back to the fact that competition is an amazing thing. And I think everyone agreed unanimously that Nintendo needs to be in the games industry. They need to be making hardware, and they need to be doing an awesome job, because that's only going to push other companies to do the exact same, whether it's Microsoft or Sony. And I'm still hoping, for that. And you're right, like this, like the whole negative and positive mantra, it gets away from the point that we're trying to be honest here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do believe you guys are very honest. I just wanted to make sure that was clear to anybody listening, because I'm sure people will always say it, but the fact is it's better to be honest than to sit there and just be like, oh, this is the greatest, this is the great, or this is the worst, and not understand that it's just a reaction to what we're seeing, which is not lighting almost anybody's fire. And I will say we are quite positive compared to some people and some major institutions, by the way. I saw something from
to stay at least somewhat positive about things.
Yeah, I saw something from a major website this morning that blew me away how mean they were. Like, it was mean. It had passed by any kind of critique to just wow. Like, it just wasn't even professional. It didn't even really serve a purpose other than to probably gain hits.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not a fan of critical behavior for just personal gain. If you really think something's wrong and you have genuine criticism to share, then I think that's the most impactful, is when you hear it from someone who gives a fuck, not someone who's like, yeah, I'm just trying to keep the fucking water running here. Fuck your game.
Trying to keep the water running. That'll be my new thing. I'm just trying to keep the water running, man.
Yeah, fuck your game. Man. It's not bad, but fuck your game. I need to get those clicks, dude.
Well, what do you guys think? What about good games? Like, is there a game that you guys want? You're hoping they announce
that hasn't been announced yet?
Yeah. Is there
it's not even a specific game? It's like I said, returning to the fact that I just want the games on launch, like a PS4 and Xbox One, to be on the Switch as well. Because then the Switch would actually be my probably, not going to guarantee yet, probably my go-to console. Because I like gaming on the go. I like taking my shit wherever I go. I like going out to my living room. I like going over to my friend's house. When I'm in the car driving to hockey and I'm in the passenger seat. So for me, the Nintendo Switch is like the fucking ideal console. It is a perfect fit for someone like me. They just need to support the damn thing. That's me. Like, it's not even like, what game do I want to see? I want fucking most third-party games at the very least.
I will say that, look, in terms of Nintendo games, like I was hoping to see a Pokemon Stars or something Pokemon related. Right. We didn't get that, so I was disappointed with that. But so long, like I understand that third parties can't just throw their all at this console without it proving itself. But at the very least, what I still hope to see is to see every major publisher release like one of their mainstay games onto this console. And it kind of happened to an extent with FIFA and with 2K, NBA 2K or whatever it's called. But I'm thinking more along the lines of, for EA, Battlefield, for Ubisoft, Assassin's Creed, for Bethesda, their next game, like, Fallout, for example, and not Skyrim. That's not even the remastered edition. Like that's when I want to like when I play games on my Xbox One. Those are the kinds of games I'm playing. I don't have much time, me personally, to play a lot of different games. I'm playing the big blockbuster AAA games. If those games made their way to the console, similar to the ones that I just mentioned before, I'll be happy with that. I will be. I know not many people will be completely satisfied with that, but I definitely would be.
Okay.
So, BioShock.
yeah, BioShock collection. That'd be interesting. BioShock. See, like that's what I'm saying though. Like, think of it. It's just a new way to play games in a sense. They're pushing this Joy-Con gimmick, but really, what the new way to play games is just taking a console game like a Skyrim or imagine a BioShock on the go. That's
Grand Theft
huge.
Auto, something.
Yeah. Like, I thought, okay, for example, when I saw the Cowboy, I looked at my friend, I was like, yo, are they about to do, like, Red Dead 2 and say that's coming to the Switch? Because that would be insane. Not only because Rockstar showed up to a fucking press conference, but because of the fact that it would be a very big title coming to the Switch.
And you know what would be great as well, Matty? Overwatch would be fantastic for the Switch.
Yeah, that would be so much fun. To take that shit on the go, to set up... It focused so much on LAN parties. It focused so much on local multiplayer. Why not get Overwatch on the Switch? Set up a bunch of tablets in your room.
Yeah, this is why I'm still very, like, I still have hope for this thing, because the Switch has that one aspect that Xbox One and PS4 and PCs don't have. It's that aspect that you can take your games and play them on the go. And if those games are big AAA games, it's just currently not possible. I know you can play mobile games on the go, and I know you have the PS Vita to an extent and the 3DS, but currently, there's no real way to play AAA blockbuster games on the go. And if the Switch can do that, then that's a system seller. If you can play your Assassin's Creeds and your Dishonored and your Borderlands, those kind of games, if they can get on there, then I'm happy.
Yeah,
so
I agree. It's
I know we're deflated.
I think the best way. No, I'm just thinking it's definitely just a mixed bag. That's really what it is. I don't like using that term as much as I used to, but that's the best way to just describe how the Switch is. It's a mixed fucking bag, in my opinion, because you got a couple of good things in there, a couple of bad things, a couple I don't knows.
Yeah,
really, really hard to tell.
You know what? Go ahead.
I was going to say it kind of feels like the Xbox One at launch with the Kinect and stuff, but they turned that around. So.
Yeah, I was just going to say I want to see what other we talked about it in Discord and stuff like that, and there was a lot of people who are far worse than I was, like on what I know, like nitpicking everything, and I get that. Everybody's going to sway a little bit, but I can't wait to see what people think who respond, because it's odd. I saw Matty respond to a couple people. Most people were in the same overall state he was in. But there were a couple people who were, one person in particular really shocked me, because what they said, it was almost another world to me, and it made me sit back and go like, holy shit, like I don't even know what this person's saying, but they were like, I felt the presentation was incredibly good. And this is what the person was saying to Matt. Do you remember this, Matty, this morning? On Twitter?
I was tired of fucking shit this morning. I make the mistake of reading tweets and comments in the morning, so I'm like grumpy, and I'll be like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, so no, this person was like, and you responded very nicely back, but they were like,
no, I know, but I'm saying in the comments on YouTube, if someone's like, yo, dude, cut your hair, I'll be like, suck a dick. Like,
this was in Twitter, and you responding back, and they were like, I was incredibly happy. I can't wait to hear what people think on the podcast, because obviously we all come at it, we're all different. We come at it, Maddie and I are reviewers. Lone's a reviewer. Got Fallout 4 earlier than Maddie, apparently. But
keep reminding him.
Yeah, exactly. As Matt's over there just hitting himself. There's
just wait till Elder Scrolls 6. Dude.
I'm West Coast.
I can't talk
Matt's
anymore. God.
East Coast.
I'm so fried.
I'm just saying that, like, with everybody at a different place, it's going to be interesting to see what some of the viewers think, because maybe there's something we didn't see. I mean, I'm open to that. I am literally open to somebody saying, dude, didn't you see, blah, blah, blah. It's just, I can't even think of what that would be. That's the problem, is I'm having a hard time even thinking. When I saw that post, that tweet to Matt, I was just like, whoa, what did they see? Like, what did I miss?
Lone, you know Connor. Karak, you'll get to know Connor, and you should. I wish I recorded his reactions during the whole Switch event. He was flabbergasted, to say the least. He's not like a Nintendo fan or anything. He's just like, what the fuck is that? Like, just everything that happened. He's like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh, gotcha.
Like, he's very expressive. You know, he's a very stereotypical New Yorker in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's not very subtle with his opinion when he's fucking surprised about something. He's like, what in the fuck? What the fuck is this weeb shit? Like, so watching that perspective was interesting as well. Because, you know, for me, I'm looking at it from a job standpoint. Also, where's Nintendo heading with this? He's just kind of looking at it from a general consumer standpoint. Tonight, am I purchasing a Nintendo Switch, or am I going to laugh my ass off? And he's just like, nope, I don't need this. Fuck this. Like, he's just... It was so funny. I wish I got it on film, because he would have served as what I think a lot of people, based off what I've read on the internet, reacted. I think he would have been a good visual example to use so people could see exactly how the reaction to the Nintendo Switch was.
My reaction, like, in between, I was like, I remember at one stage I tweeted out saying, I think I need a second glass of wine, and then the Splatoon thing happened. I'm like, fuck, I'm getting the whole bottle. Like... you know what? No, I'm gonna stop being. I know it's like you're being negative, but anyways, final thoughts, guys, on this. Like, I know that we've talked about it for a while, but
overall, my final thoughts are: I think things will change a little bit when everyone's talking about how good Zelda is. You know, I think people are quick to forget. Like, here's the thing: is that it's almost I don't want to jump the gun too much, but I can almost guarantee Zelda's going to do well, and I know that's a very brash thing to say, to guarantee that a launch title is going to be amazing, but I think people are just going, we only have Zelda. Can you remind me of the last time we got a fucking launch title that was like a blatant fucking 10 out of 10? Can someone remind me? Because that's one thing that I think a lot of people are missing out on, is that Zelda isn't, oh, it's just Zelda. No
it's Zelda.
This I'm not a Zelda fan, and I watched the trailer last night. I was like, wow, that looks like some really good stuff. Okay, Zelda might not be everyone's cup of tea, I understand that, but still, to say it's just Zelda, which I'm guilty of during this podcast, when you really break it down, it's not just Zelda. You know, you're getting a very good game at launch. With that said, I think they should have mimicked a bit of a Sony or a Xbox One, and, you know, Microsoft got, for example, Dead Rising 3 as a launch title. I thought that was pretty unique because it was a third-party exclusive, and it stayed exclusive. But for me, I think things will turn around when the system launches. People are talking very positively about certain things with it. Who knows if the party chat and the online play and stuff goes south? Who knows what they announce between now and then? They still have... People forget, though, this is the big reveal. They do have a lot to talk about within the next month or so. I mean, March 3rd is coming up soon, man. That's a little bit more than a month now.
And the release date, too, I'll say, I forgot to mention it. That's a very early release date. We were thinking, like, late March, something like that. But I think they're pushing this shit out the door.
21st to 28th, I said. So, yeah. Overall, though, my final thoughts are that I am optimistic that they will maybe get a better handle on things. But I don't think they can do what they did with the Wii U, which is piecemeal little decent titles throughout the year and hope that their big exclusives sell consoles. Because people will buy the system for those exclusives, but they will consider the system because of those exclusives. But they don't want to buy the system just for that. They want to know that the other support will be there. And then Nintendo will be top tier. So they got to take some notes. I don't think this is the end of the line for them, but they have to be careful. So those are my final thoughts.
Yeah, and I'm very, very similar. Like, as I said before, I think that this console offers something, you know, playing big AAA games on the go that we just don't have, and they can take advantage of that so long as they get those games on the go. And not just FIFA, not just NBA, but, you know, the big AAA blockbuster games that the major publishers are releasing from now on out. If they can get those games, then this thing will be a success, but it's going to be a much slower burn than what I was expecting.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Karak?
I think it's basically Nintendo's version of the Xbox One. So if they have the ability to turn it around, then, you know, if Microsoft was able to, they can, obviously.
Yeah.
But it was definitely the most depressing, you know, overall, like just tone deaf presentation and overall what they offered that I've seen in a long time. So that's just the honest, like, analytical truth of what I saw, was that I don't feel that I don't feel that you can hammer a Microsoft for only having Forza and Gears when you're not hammering Switch for only having blah 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 and blah blah blah. At some point, you have to point the finger and go, oh shit, there's more targets than just the one that we've been pointing at. And Nintendo's got away with it for a long time. And I think that every single person is more intelligent who is in the gaming industry now than just because of what they can learn by going to the internet and reading intelligent, discourse. They are releasing into a situation that is quite literally never been done before, especially, like I said, with these systems upgrading. They're behind the times. And can they turn it around? Of course, anybody can, because especially Nintendo, who, as I'm sure people understand, is beyond rich. It's sort of hilarious in how much money they have.
So much money, it's ridiculous.
I think they just move Japan around wherever they want. So like it's their own island. Like dude, it's ridiculous. So if they want to, they can turn it around and make it a unique system for what it is. But the honest analytical truth is that everything I saw there was a shot in the nuts to gamers, aside from the one or two big titles that, to be brutally honest, still had FPS issues less than a month out. And that makes me really nervous.
And you know what? And maybe people didn't notice those FPS issues, say with Breath of the Wild, for example. But I was watching it on my big TV. It was noticeable.
I can't wait. I can't wait. It's the more competition, the better. If it's not them, maybe Samsung's continual attempts. I don't know if you guys have heard, but there's been multiple little R&Ds inside of Samsung trying to decide if they were going to do a console at one point or another. So it's like,
really?
Samsung. A couple of the big TV companies, end up making some really good money at times, depending on what TVs are doing what. And they were flush with money a while ago, and they were testing out, the possibility of doing a console or doing some kind of games delivery. Yeah.
All right.
Well, that was a good first introduction to our brand new third host, Karak. Thank you for joining us, bro. Welcome aboard. This will be
it's awesome. My pleasure.
Just don't sleep in next time, all right? Just fuck's sake.
Yeah, exactly. Don't hold these guys up, plain and simple. Have some respect for the other podcasters. I'm just joking. You're in Australia, so what fucking time is it?
It's
11 a.m. where I am now.
Wow.
Wait a minute, motherfucker. Wait. Yeah, we shouldn't have woke you up. You should have already been up running laps and shit.
I know I should have been. I got to bed at 2 a.m. I was doing, yeah.
That's funny. No, it's cool.
Anyways.
All right. Well, hope you guys enjoyed this long-winded discussion on the Nintendo Switch, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Peace.
Peace.